Spoony Radio. We have shows regarding food, food culture, the restaurant business, consulting services for businesses, startups of all sorts, not just the restaurant industry. We talk about travel, food destinations. It's a lot of food, fun, and family. Mike from the World Food Championships will be coming on, giving us a weekly update on Saturday afternoons on what's new in the world of food sport. Yes, folks, I said food sport. No, it's not where competitors walk into Kitchen Stadium and beat each other to death with a limp fish. It's where you have 2,000 events which lead to the World Food Championships. Join us for the World Food Championship updates every week. Join us on Spoony on the Dash Radio Network, 24/7 Food Talk Radio.
We're not solving all the world's problems, but we're bringing people to the table. Spoony, food and fun.
There we go. Hey there, it's Doc Thompson. Welcome into Doc's House of Flapjacks. Coming up in today's broadcast, are you rude at the supermarket? Well, I know I am. Now, I'm sure I'm rude at the supermarket in ways I don't know, but I definitely know you're rude in the supermarket in ways you don't know. We're going to talk about that. We'll also discuss the secret. The secret. And also on today's list, we're going to finish up our best hot dogs list, as well as the best comfort foods. It's cold. It's been way too cold. And I hate how cold it is. Yes, I know it's because I'm old. I get that. But the fact is, I'm still cold and constantly cold. And I come from a cold climate. I come from the snow belt of northeastern Ohio. Cold, gloomy, gray, and snowy for 11 months out of the year. Well, at least the gloomy part is. I never even wore coats growing up. I mean, we had them, and I'd wear them if I was outside for like an hour or something shoveling snow. But to walk to the bus, that bus going to be warm. Only a couple of minutes out there. To head into the store, the supermarket, or something, I'm wearing a coat in there. But now, even inside, it's just too cold. In fact, in a second, it's going to be too hot. The acceptable window of my comfort is about 3 degrees. That's where we're at right now. So at this time of the year, having those comfort foods, the warm, thick soups and stick to your ribs, some of the stuff we talked about yesterday, really, really important. Are you rude at the supermarket? Of course you are. I know you are. New poll asks people what they find rude at the supermarket, what behaviors. And most people are saying that people are actually getting ruder. They're becoming more rude. So we'll dive into that a little bit more as well. But first, the secret. I have always hoped that at some point in my life I would be successful. That has not happened yet. But I am on this seemingly never-ending quest to find the keys to success. There was a book about 10 years ago that was really popular. Oprah Winfrey pushed it, called The Secret. It's based on another book. That same message was inside. I read it. I got it. It's still so hard to implement. It's simple. Stupidly simple. Wonderfully simple. And yet so difficult. We just wrapped up the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. Last year at the Consumer Electronics Show, the CEO of GoPro gave his secret to success. It's pretty much the same secret. I'm going to go ahead and share it with you now. I share this as a fellow traveler on the road to success. Yes, look behind you. No, behind those people. I'm back here on the road to success. Look behind you. I'm the one that pulled off in the pit stop of, I have no money. I don't have an income right now, but I'm trying to build a business. That's me over here. So I'm not preaching to you. I'm looking for feedback, input, and hopefully just a little bit of inspiration for you and me. Maybe we can share some inspiration and help guide each other down this path. One of the things we do on this platform, Spoony.com, is to talk about business, pro business, how you succeed. Listen, we all have needs. You got to put food on the table. You got to raise kids. You got to raise family. You got to take care of yourself. The secret is apparently not quitting. stupidly simple. It is. You say, well, of course, Doc, it's cliche. You got to hang in there. Keep it. No. You don't quit. You just don't stop. And there are studies and examples throughout history of this. The CEO of GoPro last year, 1 year ago, said, well, basically, if you look at the people that are successful versus those that weren't, many of them pursuing the same type of industry, job, services, products, development, whatever. He said the ones that are successful just didn't stop. Most of us have a whole lot of quit in us. It's not that we're not willing to work hard or fight. It's not it. It's that you don't know how to work, first of all. And if you do hone in on that and you get that piece, you know where it is. You don't know how much time you're going to put in until it's successful. Is it an hour? Is it a year? Is it 20 years? If you were 18 or at the age of 18, I explained to you, I said, you're going to be a millionaire, multimillionaire, maybe a billionaire. You said, right on. And I said, but it's going to take you 92 years. You're going to be 110 when this happens. You will hit the $1 billion, and then you will die, having struggled your entire life just to keep a meal on the table. But you'll be a billionaire after that. Would you do it? Maybe not. Say, well, I don't know. It's not worth it. I'm going to struggle my entire life. And if I told you it's going to be within 10 years, maybe you do it. The problem is we don't know when. You don't know if you're on that 91st year and finally that billion's coming next year, or if it won't, and then you've wasted it. But at least in the scenario where I told you it's going to take 92 years, at least you know it's eventually coming. You don't know how long you're going to have to stick with it, and then what level of success you'll have. All we know is that if you want to be successful, you got to stay with it. That's a lesson I learn every day. It's very frustrating. The struggle's real. Trying to hang in there, everybody's yelling at you, and then the self-doubt. Even if you have a great support network, right? Loved ones, family, friends, coworkers, clergy, advisors, consultants. Even if you have a great support network where they're telling you, no, hang in there. This is good. You still have your own self-doubt. You have the frustrating day. Something didn't work out your way. Oh, now I got to deal with this. Self-doubt is a killer. I'm learning that again today. Oh, the roller coaster ride of starting this platform and the rest of our company, crazy. Yesterday I had a good day. Got a lot of stuff done. All right, checked a lot of stuff off the list. This is great. Today, nothing. No matter what I do today is like, oh, I can't finish that project. Oh, that didn't work out. Oh, I was real close to the end of that project, and then, oh, I need more information. I got to wait. I got to get some more information. It's crazy frustrating. So if it's starting a restaurant, pursuing a career in the culinary arts, whatever it is, stay with it. There's the secret. How you stay with it? I don't know. I'm trying to figure out as well. If you have any suggestions, by all means, please share them with me. On social media, it's at Doc Thompson Show. And Facebook.com/Doc Thompson Show. Or on MeWe, you can look me up at MeWe.com as well. It's all about staying with it. And I don't know how to do that. Nope. That's never been my strong suit in just basic things throughout life. What am I doing this for? I really just want to sit under the tree and smell the flowers like Ferdinand the Bull. That's all I want to do. It's not that I don't work. I love to work. It's great. But, I just sit here and watch the world go by. It's quite a view. Quite a view. I don't know. Every day I try to find some way to just say, keep going. That's my job.
You used to have a view. We took away the windows that overlooked the Spoony River. Yeah, sorry about that, Doc. Didn't mean to spoil the fun.
No. The beautiful Spoony River's right out that wall, and it is still inspiration. I know. It's right out there. The beautiful Spoony River.
We can see it from one. We can still see it from the control room. So there is something.
There's a little bit there. Chef Patrick, it's all about not quitting, and I don't know how to do that.
Sure you do. You're still here. You're still here.
Yeah, at any moment that's going to change. I don't even know if I'll finish the show today. That's the kind of day I'm having today. It's maddening.
That's why you're going to sit in the control room when I'm on, and you're going to help me get through it too.
Maddening today. Just like, seriously.
I think it may be the diet, Doc. You've been fasting a little bit. And I think that may be a lot of it. Not just part of it.
Could be crazy. Well, the only thing that keeps me going, and I'm being serious about this, American Pride Roasters coffee. The best coffee in America, the official coffee of Spoony.com as well. It's AmericanPrideRoasters.com. Check it out today. That's American Pride Roasters. Fantastic coffee. And it's not just coffee. Their basic coffee is great. But the different flavored coffees, it's not syrupy or candy. It's not novelty. It's just great flavors. Check it out at AmericanPrideRoasters.com. There's even one named after me. He hasn't named one after you.
Not yet.
Have you felt slighted by that?
No, to be honest with you, I hadn't thought about it. I'm so busy trying the other 54 flavors that I haven't gotten there yet.
Well, let me help you.
Okay.
Now you can feel slighted.
Okay.
And as you feel slighted, I've got the secret. Just hang in there. Another day, he may name a coffee after you.
Thanks, Coach. It's going to be a good game.
What would you suggest? Do you have a coffee flavor or something, flavor profile you like, or one that he hasn't done that you would stand out? The one that he's been working on for me now, because he did a bacon blast for me, which is amazing. Mm-hmm. It's not bacony. It's just like, I just had a great breakfast of pancakes and pancakes and eggs and bacon, and at the end, you take that drink of coffee and that kind of idea of bacon.
Still stuck on the palate there a little bit.
Right, that's how it is. But I love banana flavor. Even novelty or chemically created banana flavor, the older I get, I love it more. And he's been working on a Bananas Foster's flavor for me.
Oh, one of my favorite desserts.
It's me too. And he's it's great what he has. He has a couple different darknesses. I'm talking about DM, who's the proprietor of American Pride Roasters. But is there a flavor you'd think of? He's working on a couple of flavors for my wife for a business she has as well. And they're kind of Southern flavors.
Oh, like pecan or something like that? Or
yeah, he has some pecan, but he's working on some variations of it. You suggested one for a Southern flavor. What about mint julep?
Yeah, I thought that would be awesome, wouldn't it?
So if you could do a mint julep, if you don't know, is pretty much just bourbon and a mint leaf.
Pretty close to it.
Yeah, maybe a splash of water.
A splash of water, maybe a little simple syrup.
Okay. Imagine, though, if you could bring out a good, solid bourbon flavor, which bourbon flavors, most of us only know bourbon flavor by drinking bourbon.
Yes.
But if you have like a bourbon barrel ale beer or something like that or anything else that's bourbon, it's amazing flavor.
What if you roasted and then aged the beans in a bourbon barrel for a while before you grind it or before you ship it out?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then add just a hint of mint.
Yeah, because you're talking about, with the bourbon, it's more the aroma than anything, because you're not going to get the flavor of it in there.
No,
and you
no.
don't want it in there.
Well, because part of it's the heat of the alcohol, too, when you get it. But man, that flavor. And I didn't realize how much until I had the bourbon barrel ales.
Oh, and it's
because
so
it's cold
much.
too, which adds a whole different element. Because bourbon's usually at room temperature.
Exactly.
Or if you water it down low, it's a little cooled. But.
Yeah, no, but there's so much more. There's so much more depth that way, especially in the ales. It's such a different. It actually changes the feel of the beer when you drink it.
Is there any other flavor you could think of that would be a good coffee for you? A coffee, something that you would like or something that he hasn't done, something that'd be original? I'm wondering any other savory flavors.
Okay, so, I mostly drink decaf 99% of the time. So maybe something in decaf. He has one that's decaf now. Maybe he has a few others, but I know that there was one that he used to, only one that he used to make. So, something that maybe has some other herb, a nose of other herbs to it. Maybe... we talked about the mint. How about something like tarragon, something that's a little licoricey, right?
Oh,
So you just get the aroma of that. That'd be good.
I hate anise flavor. Isn't that what it's called? The black licorice?
Yes. Anise. Yes.
Oh, close.
Close enough.
Close enough. In my book, it still tastes... Okay, anyway. But as much as I don't like that, that would be an interesting coffee. Yeah,
you either hate licorice or you love licorice. There's no in between.
But it's a dark, rich flavor that may lend itself to coffee.
I would think so. And again, you're going to get mostly the aroma, not so much the flavor. Because again, if the flavor overpowers the coffee, then what's the sense in drinking the coffee? Mm-hmm. Which is why the bacon blast or the dark chocolate bacon blast, that was one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the dark chocolate bacon blast that he did is fantastic.
Yeah. But so you could take that. You could take. Butter's a big thing in coffee now, right?
Yeah.
So you could maybe do something that has a hint of that butter aroma, and I don't know, like butter. Could you put something?
One of the things I suggested with him, I said, I like flavors that are unique. And I've taken his coffee and other coffees and mixed different flavors to kind of create my own thing, just kind of a little mad scientist there. And I realized most of the coffees do really well if you add some sort of nut flavoring to it. Pecan, peanut, walnut, hazelnut, it doesn't matter. If you add it to it, it somehow brings out the coffee, even if you're not going hazelnut, it's just whatever. So imagine if you created your own concoction, right?
Okay.
And you didn't mention what flavors were in it. And I'm saying this from a marketing standpoint, too. So what if he created one that he called, down home or on the out in the country, on the farm, grandma used to make, right? Something like that.
Farm to table.
Farm to table or something like that.
A little straw nose to it, maybe a little hay.
Right. Well, what you could do is you could start with one of those nuts because they bring out the flavor. And then you start adding profile like a little of the bacon flavor he said, where again, you're not, as you drink it, you're not going, wow, is that bacon? You're just going, all of them come together. So a little nut, a little bacon, some sort of little buttery flavor like you said or whatever.
Yeah, as long as there's nothing like liquid chicken, egg flavor in there, we're okay.
I wasn't thinking so much that. But it's coffee that would put the idea in your head that you just sat down at grandma's table. And she put out a big spread, and then you had a cup of coffee.
So let's think about that. Think about that when you're on a farm or you're in the country in the morning. The sun is coming up. The chickens crow. Crowing or whatever. I don't know whether they cackle. So you're waiting for the day to start. You're having a cup of coffee. What do you smell at that time? What do you see and what do you smell?
That's a good point. And if it's summertime, you may get some of those summer flowers. And then there are certain flowers that, as much as I don't like, what's the big one they always lavender. In flavors for stuff. I mean, that's one of them, right?
So I used to like lavender until every chef in the world used lavender and everything, and now I really don't like lavender.
Lavender really gets to that perfume palette for me. It's not just that it's not sweet, it's that it's perfumey. But yeah, for my grandmother, if I went to my grandmother's house in West Virginia, it would have been those couple of things that we just talked about. Some sort of, nut flavor, some sort of bacon or something, eggs, butter.
You could just, if you wanted something on the sweet from a perception standpoint anyway, you could do something that's like a walnut, right?
Apple?
You could do apple, walnut, like cinnamon brown sugar, something that's really a little...
yeah. That would work really well. So maybe an element of spice too. And then you just play around with commas, I say spices in the spiced cookie, spiced cake.
You could do a ginger, ginger cinnamon kind of a Southeast Asian kind of flavor.
Which one of those goes best, do you think, with like a bacon and a pecan? Maybe a molasses type, right?
I was thinking molasses. I'm not sure how that
covers it.
That's a pretty dark and rich flavor that has kind of a chocolatey undertone almost.
That would be interesting.
I need to try flavoring coffee with molasses to see what happens with that.
That's cool. Molasses.
That's a good idea.
And today, of course, is the anniversary of the great molasses flood in Boston.
Really?
Are you familiar with this?
This is not one I'm familiar with, Doc.
Several story storage tank of molasses ruptured, and a wave of molasses poured down Main Street. I can't remember the town in Massachusetts, and it might have been Boston, but I know it was in Massachusetts. Poured down Main Street and was traveling 35 miles an hour.
35 miles an hour is pretty fast.
I think people got killed, a lot of people injured or whatever. It was a tragedy. And you think molasses... Where the hell did they get the phrase "slow as molasses" in January?
I was just thinking, doesn't it like move slowly?
I know. I was like, hurry,
hurry!
The molasses tank is rupturing. You're like, it's January. I got time.
It's like the original movie, The Blob. That thing was so slow. How did you not outrun that?
Right. I'd be going, Patrick, we got time for another beer. It's molasses. We're like, no. It's still a couple feet away. We got another hour.
Even if it was quick, we'd still say we'd have time for another beer, probably.
That's true, too. I'm going out with a bang. Anyways, that's fascinating, though. American Pride Roasters Coffee. Try it if you get a chance. We're going to work with them and see what we can come up with. We should hit them up with a couple of those and see what we can do. But I love the idea, Patrick, of flavors that are not specific, like bacon, blueberry, whatever, where it's the idea, the setting of stuff, especially with a coffee like this. And I love the idea of marketing like this. Right? The closest we've gotten to is something like that, even with coffee. Remember General Foods International's coffee?
Oh, yeah. Juan Valdez, the guy who played Juan Valdez, passed away last week.
No, it's
the week before.
I didn't know him, so I'm not quite as upset as maybe his family would be.
Picked the beans. He was in every commercial.
No, I know that, but I'm just saying I didn't know him personally, so I'm not quite as upset maybe his wife would be or something like that. That's how it is.
So back to your story, yes.
All right, no, that's it. rude behavior at supermarkets. Listen, I know I'm rude at times. I don't mean to be, but I'm just one of those people by being loud and boisterous that likely I'm going to come across as rude to some people. But I know you are rude. Chef Patrick, in the supermarket, what is your number one frustration that you consider rude or insensitive from other customers? Number one.
Number one?
Or one of the top ones, because I've got mine right off, and I'll share it with you while you're thinking of yours.
So, yeah, go ahead. You share. I got
Number
mine.
one is, and I say this out of passion from the bottom of my heart, please move over. Please get the hell out of the way. I mean this in all of society, please. I'm not asking you to go out of your way. Step aside. I'll pass, and you could go again about your way. In the left lane on the on the highway. Just get from the left lane to the right lane. I'll pass, and you get back over. In the supermarket, just move your cart over. And if you're going to stop and have a conversation with somebody or look on the shelf, move your cart over 2 inches, and we'll all be happy.
You know, there's nothing worse, especially during the holidays. You have 6 carts parked in the middle of an aisle, and everybody kind of wandering around looking for what they need, and nobody can get by.
But this is the worst. So, how you doing? I haven't seen you since Tuesday or whatever. Or they're on their phone or whatever. Look, if you move your cart over 4 centimeters, I can get by. I don't have to give you the look as I walk by.
It's like jumping at it. Get out of line.
Get out of line. It's really simple. That's my number one frustration. And you know what? I've gotten better over the years of realizing people are just in their own world. They don't mean it to be like rude. They just don't know.
Well, I'm a speed shopper, right? I go in and I have my list. It's all broken down by category. I know I start in the bread section, produce, and then I go through the whole store, end up in the dairy, and I'm out the door. But what I do is I don't take my cart down the aisles. I leave my cart at the end of the aisle next to an end cap or something where it's out of the way, and I walk down the aisle, grab what I need, and go back to the cart and keep going down the back of the store.
That makes sense. I don't do it that ritualistically, but I quite often leave my cart, especially down the middle of the aisles, because they're so...
Oh, it's ritualistic for me. I mean, when I get to the dairy section, I actually take an egg, break it open, make a sacrifice, take a, say a prayer and leave.
I didn't mean that, Rich. I just mean
I know.
regular.
Yeah, no, for me, because I had to shop as a private chef twice a day, every day, 6 days a week, you learn to, you know exactly where everything is that you're looking for, and that's, there are no impulse buys, rarely.
I was more like that when I was regularly on the Whole30 diet, where I knew I needed that jar of this and this, bag of that.
Yeah. So, but my biggest frustration in the grocery store is not so much the when someone isn't looking or someone isn't paying attention. As a customer, it's when the employees, you go up to you're next in check at the check stand, and they have to turn around and talk to Sally next to them and say, "Oh, by the way, did you see what happened the other day? Oh, did you know?" And you wait for like 30 seconds for them to turn back around and say, "Oh, how are you?" Get off your cell phone. Pay attention to the customer. Do your job and go home.
You know what? That is probably number 2 on my list, but I can top the scenario you just said, which I find even more infuriating. Is not I was having a conversation and you were secondary, the customer secondary, is that you continue to be secondary as a customer.
Yes.
Where you feel like, okay, I have interrupted your conversation. That makes me feel uncomfortable enough, and I find that frustrating. But then as the second they hand you the receipt, they turn their back and go, anyway. Or
yeah, no, hey, thanks, see you later. Oh, right back to the conversation.
Sorry. You stand at attention. If I'm the only customer, if you're not getting to the next one, and you stand there and wait until I fade off into the distance.
So my number 2?
I should never see you turn back to the person and start blah-bitty-blah.
Oh, so even worse than, I'll give you one worse than that. Well, part of the reason I absolutely hate, look, Walmart, if you live in Bentonville or Northwest Arkansas, great experience. Every Walmart is perfect. It's every store is like Mayberry. It really is, but a really nice grocery store or a big box retailer. But every other one, there's never anywhere to check you out. And then you have to wait forever. I mean, it's even worse when you have to wait for a cashier that's not present. So there are 40 people in line. She's still talking to the one behind her who's on break. It's like, come on.
How about I get, especially if you're newer, you may not know where every item is. Got it. Yeah. That's fine. But when I can't decide if it's they don't care, you're like, hey, I'm looking for safety pins. And they're like, I don't know, whatever. They don't know and they don't care to find them. Or when they fake it and just go, oh, I think it's aisle 16.
Yeah, they know. They know. They just don't want to tell you.
It's 16. Listen, you find out just, it's pretty simple, whatever. Oh, my gosh.
Could you just go ask, please, now?
Yeah. I had a lady in Bentonville over the weekend at Walmart. She was a huge help. And I ran into her twice on a couple different days because I was at Walmart several times. And each time, I don't think she called me sweetie. A little older lady, and she's like, how can I help you, sweetie? You looking for something? And I was like, well, yeah, actually I am. And she was like, okay, it's aisle 12. Let me take you right over there. It's right there. You see that? And I was like, okay, you have a good day now, sweetie.
Feel like at your Home Depot.
And I was like, wow, sweetie, okay. And the next day, sweetie, how you doing? And I was like, well, look at you go. I am a sweetie. I am. Dating today with all the crazies out there has to be nuts.
Yes, it really would. Wouldn't it be nice if there was a place you could go to find people who think like you do?
Like me, like libertarians and conservatives?
Right?
There is. WeThePeople.dating.
Amazing. What a genius idea. This is a site that you can go to if you're single and you are looking for somebody who you're going to think the same way, as far from a political freedom standpoint. If you want to date the right person for you, you'll find them in one place. WeThePeople.dating.
Take the pain out of ordering your diabetic testing supplies with Diathrive. Diathrive ships the testing supplies you need directly to you when you need them. Best of all, with plans starting as low as $8 a month, Diathrive is probably going to cost you less than what you're paying today. Diathrive is so convinced that you'll love their service, they're offering your first month of supplies free. Simply type the code DOC, D-O-C, at checkout. Diathrive.com. That's D-I-A, thrive.com.
It looks like you're losing.
I am.
Are you losing weight?
I am losing. I've lost about 10 pounds.
How are you doing it?
It's a funny name, but I've done it with Riduzone, RIDUzone.com, and the stuff works. It's, you get into all that, the molecule this and the found in that. All I can tell you is it makes you feel full, and it keeps your mind off of wanting to overeat.
And also boosts your metabolism, so you're burning more.
Yeah,
Try it today. It's going to work for you like it's worked for Brad and countless other people. Riduzone.com. RIDUzone.com.
Never Forgotten Apparel is more than just a premium women's and men's clothing line. It's a movement to remind us to wear American-made and serve those who serve us. Our heroes. Never Forgotten Apparel gives 20% of their total sales to nonprofits that support homeless veterans and off-duty firefighters, and 50% to individual veterans and firefighters in need nationwide. Check out neverforgottenapparel.com. Use promo code MATT, M-A-T-T, and get 15% off your purchase.
It really is therapy, because I'm already feeling better about my frustrating day. Already feeling a little bit better. All right, so back to some of the supermarket frustrations. When they made the list out, people suggested some of the things that Patrick and I had already suggested, things they found frustrating. And this comes to us from NBC News. They actually put out a list of things you should do at the supermarket. These tips will help ease the stress and keep bad behavior in check. They say, number one, practice mindfulness before you go to the store. What a stupid list. What does that mean? Should you say that everything? You know what? I'm a jerk the rest of the day at work and traffic with my family, but I'm getting ready to go to the store. Let me practice some mindfulness. And what does that mean to practice? Is it like Zen or something? Is it like yoga or
deep breathing in the car before you go in? I'm not sure.
Okay. Then practice mindfulness when you're there. Okay, these seem very broad in tips, don't they?
So maybe in that sense, be alert and be aware of what other people need and are looking for, so that you are not a hindrance.
Shouldn't we do that throughout our days anyway?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Then they suggest this. Remind yourself that shopping, I guess they mean, isn't a high-stakes situation. And I would say, wrong. Are you kidding me? Of course it's high stakes for about a dozen reasons. The first is my time is really important to me. Not that I'm going to be spending it on anything important. I just don't want to be wasting it. Even if I could save a fraction of a second in traffic, at the supermarket, at the gas station, whatever it is, to only go home and lie on the couch and do nothing, it doesn't matter. I just got to get this done. I'm going to check it off the list, right? So it's absolutely high stake, not to mention the fact that there may be the last of something, and then there's going to be trouble.
Well, as they say, time is the new money, and right now, time is the only money we have. So
it really is, and I just want to get stuff done. It'll be interesting to see how all this changes in the with AI, automated cars, or whatever in the next 5 years. It's going to be fascinating. Look at people shopping online and having Uber Eats deliver stuff to them. Right? I mean, the Uber Eats.
You really going to put me on that rant again, Doc?
What do you mean? Did you discuss yesterday? You're going to do it today.
Okay, I'm going to take a deep breath and practice mindfulness for a moment, right? So, to begin with, look, I already have this. Did
you talk about it yesterday?
No. I've talked about it like 20 times in the last week, but now that it's up again, it's come up again. It's no surprise that we're such a gluttonous society
right.
that in this day and age, okay, fine, we have fast food restaurants. We can get the McRib almost year round now. I don't know how often. I've never had one. I'm not proud to say that, but I've never had one. But here's the deal. When you are too lazy as a society, that delivery services will now drive to the fast food restaurant through the fast food drive-thru and bring the food to you, there's a freaking problem.
I'm guessing we're going to see a surge of people. Jerry, I'm stuck in my house. Tear down the wall, get a forklift, a front end loader, and come get me out.
That's like what's eating Gilbert Grape.
Yeah. So, you know what? I say you're right. And I try not to just be the old person. Seriously, I look around and I try to relate things, generations before, my parents, my older siblings, things they went through. Am I just the old person as things change? I'm trying to put it in perspective. And when I wax nostalgic for the past, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s of like fast food and, what it was like to drive down, there has been a change. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, I'm a capitalist. I love business, start a business. I think, having options with fast food and that's all great. But there was something to be said for a lack of oversaturation.
Absolutely. There was something unique and special about it at that point.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess saturation is in the eye of the beholder. There's a little bit of that. Mm-hmm. But when I think about you drive down and you go, yes, we weren't lacking for anything. Hey, on this corner, you're going to get McDonald's, Wendy's, and Burger King. And on the next one, you're going to get Taco Bell and Arby's and, whatever else. Well,
not only that. I mean, look at there's that. But then Chick-fil-A, God bless them, they do a great job. But you drive up, there are already 3 lanes, but then they got 4 people out there going down the line taking your order to expedite. I mean, it's a great system. It's genius.
Let's not use that as an example because Chick-fil-A's in its category all by itself.
Yeah, and I appreciate their food. I really do. And their business model. Right. It's just, when it comes to consumption, we are in such a hurry to overconsume at every moment.
Thank you.
That's really what I'm talking about.
Okay, Patrick, right there. And I think I mentioned to you yesterday or the last couple of days about that, the video about the guy who says, what jobs will be out there when the automation kicks in. And he talks about leisure time. We're going to have more leisure time. As a chef, you're right. If you're concerned about your health, you're right. For multiple reasons, all of these reasons. We are in a hurry and we can get things fast, and that's all great. The balance, it's always about the balance.
But do you really think that we have more leisure time now than we did 10 years ago? I don't think so.
Well, sure. I mean, I don't have to go through all those memos because it's all electronic now.
No, we have to search for 5 hours to find
society.
The email.
Holy moly. Do you remember paperless society? Do you remember?
Yes.
Emails. How much easier it's going to be. We get 1 billion emails now. I could spend, even if I didn't work on the air and had on-air emails for people to email through, I could spend, 12 hours a day just opening emails.
I have one inbox with 14,000 unopened emails. I'm going to delete them all.
You should at this point. I mean, you're not getting to them. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
How much of them are spam, though?
Well, so that's my oldest. That's an AOL account, dude. It's all spam. I kept it because family used to email photos and stuff like that when my kids go on vacation and a few things. If you want to sign up for something, get the info, but you don't want to keep opening those emails because you get them every day, I would use that email address.
So then what about this for business of the future? This has to be a business, and necessity is the mother of invention. We will need more ways to organize and more ways to separate. Fast is great. Got to do this stuff. Let's get it done. Let's go out there and be productive, make money, do all the stuff we got to do. Great. And now, especially as a chef, let's sit down and enjoy that meal. I mean, listen, I'm in a hurry. I can enjoy that Baconator. By that, I mean that's 6 Baconators. Sure. I can do that. Wendy, you got a good sandwich there. That's good stuff. But it's going to be fast, whatever. But something to be said for sitting down, enjoying the family meal, the whatever, right?
Yeah, it's they
both have their place.
There are real bonds that are formed during that time that you don't get to form anywhere else because there's so many other intrusions on our day-to-day life that if you set that one meal period aside and use it as a family bonding time, it's incredible what can happen from that.
So what businesses can we glean out of all that from, for the future?
Well, there are some that have come up, like personal chefing.
Okay.
So a private chef works for one family full time. A personal chef, though, goes household to household. Once or twice a week, you maybe have 5 clients. You go to their home, you do the shopping before you get there, you prepare everything there, you put it in containers in their refrigerator labeled for them to prepare or do the finished cooking or reheat, and that's it. So they don't have to do any cooking. They just sit down and enjoy the meal with their family. It's typically just dinner only and maybe a couple of lunches.
I got to believe that just personal assistants will take on a whole new world. Right now, personal assistants are usually, I have lots of money, and I have people that do all this stuff for me and whatever. But and we have all these master apps and stuff like that. Honestly, I think you may see a lot of jobs where it's like, my job is I work for Patrick, let's say. He may not be rich, but it's a service, and maybe, I spend 2 hours a day answering his email or opening him, telling him what's important, or different things like that. And you have one email account that's more personal, one more professional. There's
some virtual personal assistants that work digitally like that. There are lots of services.
I'll bet you see stuff like that, and people will squirrel out some new ideas as well.
Absolutely agree.
All right, back to the best hot dogs out there, because I'm dreaming of summertime and spring. Massachusetts. We started the list yesterday, and this is from travelandleisure.com. Snappy Dogs in Massachusetts. Listen to this. They have a Dr. Pepper barbecue sauce that goes on theirs. Now, on one of their hot dogs as an option, a lot of times when people make stuff out of existing products, like it's a Coke, glaze or whatever, most of the time I think ridiculous. It's fine. It works for you. It seems like for the masses. But Dr. Pepper has a unique flavor.
It does. It has a very unique,
right?
You either love it or hate it.
I mean, So if you say, I'm going to here's how you make the casserole, you top it with potato chips from
fried onions.
It just seems like, okay, fine. I guess it could be good. But this is truly unique. Dr. Pepper barbecue sauce?
Absolutely.
That could be legit.
I've had it in like Dr. Pepper cake, and I've had other dump cakes where you use a soda as a liquid. But that's the one soda that imparts a very particular flavor.
It does. Yeah, it does.
It's kind of that cherry kind of
and
herbaceous.
It's got that crisp end to it, yeah. Michigan, Nanny's Cafe and Beach Shop, they sell what they call their upscale hot dogs. Listen to this. Their dogs are served on a New England-style roll instead of the traditional bun. That could go either way. Here's the thing about hot dogs, for me personally, and I love good quality breads. Make a burger and put it on a better bread, better quality, sure. If the bread isn't soft on the hot dog, it's going to be trouble for me. Because hot dogs, in my mind, the bun has to be soft. Maybe you're different. Maybe you feel different. A burger, you can have a little more, bite or, toughness to the bun. Hot dogs, that may be trouble for me. It could go either way. Minnesota, Kayachi is the hot dog place. Their special house dog comes with yuzu mayo. I don't know what that is, but I want to try it. Grilled shishito peppers. I don't even know what that is. Obviously all Asian. It looks, shishito peppers?
Yeah, they're the little Japanese. They're not real spicy. They're like a skinny jalapeno.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
They're the ones they saute in a pan and bring it in a Japanese restaurant.
Does yuzu sound good? Y-U-Z-U?
Yuzu?
Yuzu.
Yeah, so yuzu is a kind of a hard citrus fruit that's got very little juice in it from Japan. It's kind of between a lemon and a lime. It's very unique. It's one of my favorite flavors.
This is
they use the rind a lot.
They use that mayo, yuzu mayo, with the shishito peppers.
Shishito peppers. That sounds really good.
That sounds interesting.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. And by the way, I tried again for only the second time now in about a month, the Vietnamese sandwich.
Oh,
bami. Amazing.
Oh, it's same place?
Same place.
So that restaurant, I'll tell you, their unique take on that. So traditionally it's the red pork char siu. It's red Chinese barbecue pork on a Vietnamese baguette bun. And then they put shredded carrots and cucumber and some other stuff on there. And then there's not really any sauce with it. There can be, but the way that they do it at that restaurant with the brisket in there.
Yeah.
And then
I didn't have that. I had the pork. I haven't even had the brisket.
Oh man, there's one with brisket, and then they have a dipping sauce for it. Like it's almost like a French dip.
Yeah, I didn't.
But it's pho. faux soup. Oh man, and it's spiced like oxtail soup. It's got a lot of like clove and
the flavors just pop.
Amazing.
And what I like about it is for the bun they use. Is that that's kind of along the buns most Bami uses, right?
Yeah, it's basically a French baguette, a small individual portion one.
Because we're talking about this with the hot dogs. Hot dogs, I want the bun to be soft. It can't have a lot of chewiness
no crust
to it.
or crunch on the outside.
Right.
Yeah.
This though, with the Bami, what I liked about this one, it does have a little more crunch to it, but they've got the juices from the pork and the other stuff going on it that it absorbs into that bread a little bit and softens it. So you do have kind of that French dippy type thing, the flavor in the bread.
Absolutely, yeah, and the bread isn't so dry.
In Mississippi, Wise Guys Chicago Pizza Dog. Classic dog comes with chili cheese fries for the true authentic Mississippi experience, they say. Chicago Pizza, Wise Guys. Oh, I'm sorry. Chicago's Wise Guys Pizza is the place. Wise Guys Chicago Pizza, but they have a classic dog. Okay, I was like, where's the pizza come into play here? All right, let's see what else we have. The best hot dogs around the country by state. Dogs and Fries in Missouri. They have a hot dog.
With French fries.
They call it the Cali. It's covered in queso. It's Cali dog covered in queso cheese, turkey bacon, and barbecue sauce. Well, I'm a little
Turkey
leery.
bacon just did me in right there. I can't do turkey bacon.
Turkey bacon, the barbecue and queso together, that could go either way. I like both.
Yeah, I can't really do it. I can't do it.
I like the creamy and the spice together, but that feels like it could get real goofy real quick there.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite dog, Doc?
Honestly, I would love to try most of these. These are really creative, the ones I'm going down there. But here's the classic hot dog for me, and I'm glad you asked that. The bun, it can be a better quality, but it's got to be soft, right? In fact, I like them even when they're steamed, so they just, whatever. I don't like the really thick dogs, the quarter inch,
quarter pound dogs. Yeah, the 4 ounce.
I don't like those. I like the thinner dogs. And on that goes, and I'm going to throw you a little curveball here. Chili, good chili, a little bit of yellow mustard, and coleslaw. And I want the chili hot and the coleslaw cold.
Yeah, that nice little juxtaposition there.
It's awesome.
Hot, cold. You have the crunch of the dog.
Yes, and the mustard. The reason I want that because it's so vinegar based. So you get the chili, which is spicy and red.
The fat of the dog, and that cuts through everything.
And then the cream of the coleslaw. Yep. But then the spice mustard, that's it. Now, a lot of people will do, where I'm from, if you go to the street vendors in Cleveland or the Northeast or anyway, a lot of times you get sauerkraut dogs, and they're fine. But I prefer the coleslaw over the sauerkraut on top of the chili dog.
Yeah, so I have my favorites in, there's a little place in Cypress, Texas, just outside of Houston called Mario's Burgers and Tacos. I know, bizarre name, but he does he does a quarter pound dog, which I don't usually like the bigger ones either, but he wraps it in bacon and deep fries it. Then he pulls it out, takes the bacon off, though, because it's just to flavor it. Then he puts it in the bun, but it has, he takes avocado and he scoops out slices of avocado, really thin wedges, right? And he puts that on there. He's got this special sort of Mexican I don't even know what you call it. It's this kind of spicy, zesty, tomato-based salsa. It's a smooth sauce. It's almost like a ketchup, but way better than the spicy stuff that you get at Whataburger.
Oh, okay.
Better. Yeah, but it's better. It's much richer and a little more depth and flavor. Not so much just heat and sweet ketchup. And it's unbelievable. It has a little shredded lettuce under it.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's not what I consider my traditional dog, but I'm telling you what, it is unbelievable. The flavor combination there.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't know, if you're not familiar with Whataburger, that is Texas based, I think, or whatever. And that's in the South, whatever. And it's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I love Whataburger is one of my probably top 2 or 3 picks of.
Yeah, I wish there wasn't one so close.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. But they have their own ketchup, and then they have a spicy ketchup that people flip for. The regulars flip for. I don't love it, and here's why. Ketchup has to have, and again, try to make your own ketchup. Good luck. It doesn't happen because you've got to add healthy ketchup. Forget it. It's got to be boatloads of sugar in the stuff. It's sweet. It's what it is. We don't realize how sweet ketchup is, but it is. Ketchup has to have that sweet factor. And somehow their spicy ketchup doesn't have as much sweet and is more spicy. I'm sorry. I make my own with sriracha and just Heinz ketchup.
Oh, yeah, plain old ketchup.
It's fantastic. If I just go out to breakfast and I decide I'm going to put some ketchup on my hash browns, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I add the sriracha to it. So it's a little spicy too.
Yeah, and it's funny. I didn't used to like Tabasco, but I'm starting to like Tabasco a lot more because that vinegar's in there.
Mm-hmm.
The heat with the vinegar and then the ketchup or whatever else you put on there.
Have you had Tabasco's other sauces, the green and the brown?
I have. So the green one
is good.
That's a really good one.
So in Nebraska, there's a place called, and this is a dog place, called Block 16. They say it's one of the most creative on their entire list. They have, listen to this, a crab Rangoon dog. You see where they're going?
Crab Rangoon is
fantastic.
Yeah.
You don't have to like crab. You don't have to like seafood. And it is great. They take a dog and they top it with cream cheese. See where I'm going with this?
Oh, yeah.
And then the crab Rangoon. Then sweet chili sauce.
Ooh.
Sriracha, scallions, and it's wrapped in a wonton.
Interesting.
Oh my gosh. I got to try this.
So do they cook it that way?
I don't have the pictures, but it must be.
I'm going to look that. Yeah, they must wrap that whole thing and then fry it.
So you can look it up again. This is in Nebraska, Block 16. It's probably in Lincoln or Omaha. There's not much in the rest of the state. It looks sounds fantastic. Now, granted, listen, if you're going for an American dog experience, you're in a hot dog mood, this is not what we're talking about. These are just creative, nutty things off out of nowhere. That's awesome. The creativeness, you got to love of that, though. I like it when people take a theme like that and make it their own. I think I would have appreciated it even more if they didn't call it a crab Rangoon and just called it the whatever dog.
Yeah.
And, people are like, hey, this is a lot like crab Rangoon. Just kind of run with it because it puts the idea too much of crab Rangoon in my head. Nevada, the Bulldoggies Gourmet Hot Dogs. And it's spelled Bulldoggies, but I looked at it looks a lot like Bulgogies too.
I think
and it's because it's
Yeah, did somebody misspell it when they put the list together?
I think they're purposely word play on it because it's Korean and Vietnamese dishes like bulgogi and banh mi, and so they do both of that.
That one at Block 16, by the way, it's made like a spring roll like that and then fried.
Oh,
it looks
so
really
they fry
good.
it like that and then they top it with the stuff after it comes out, or do they wrap all the crab Rangoon stuff inside?
So it looks like the sauce and the scallions the crab Rangoon's inside, but the sauces are on the top.
Oh, that makes sense then because
it's served like a chimichanga.
Okay, because the hot dog is already cooked, so you're not waiting for the meat to cook like a...
just heat through.
Right. You're just heating it up and then cooking the outside. So by the time the outside's cooked, you're good to go. And any crab Rangoon's going to be heated in there too. The sauces, that would be big. New Hampshire, Gillies. They say it's a late night place. A lot of people in New Hampshire love. And it says they do dogs well. They're more traditional, but they are awesome. Not familiar. New Jersey has Destination Dogs. They have one with foie gras and truffle fries. They serve with truffle fries.
Foie gras is kind of wasted on a hot dog, to be honest with you.
Do you like
truffle fries are good because it's just truffle salt and a little bit of truffle oil sometimes.
Yeah, they're great.
They really are.
Do you like foie gras? I'm not a huge fan.
If you here's the key: you have to have something because it's so rich and fatty. You have to have something very astringent and possibly sweet to go with it, like a blackberry reduction or caramelized onions with a little extra apple cider vinegar at the end.
How is foie gras usually served? Probably a lot of different applications, but
it's typically the 90% of the time it's cut into like a 1 to 1.5 inch thick piece.
Okay,
and it's seared in a very hot pan. And then it's cooked to like medium rare or rare.
Interesting.
Because if you cook it any further, it just melts away. There's nothing left. It's all fat for the most part.
I can't remember the restaurant, but this restaurant in Cleveland years ago brought us a bunch of crazy different stuff. Really good stuff. But they brought us a foie gras milkshake.
That's even a little far for me to go.
And I can't remember what else was in it, but it was cream and foie gras. It was not a sweet milkshake. It was more savory. And it had some other stuff going on. And I mean, the biggest issue with it was that, not that savory was bad in a milkshake. You could see, think of a cream dish, right? You eat cream, you eat creamy soups, and you're used to those being savory and hot. Was that it was still cold. And it was thick. oh my gosh, was it so thick.
Well, I'm sure the fat from the foie gras just made it. I mean, there's
no
way.
It was, because I think they even topped it with a little extra cream or something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, it was like thick.
It's like that. It's like when you go to Wendy's and you buy the Frosty, right?
Yeah.
You know,
they may have had, and I might be remembering this wrong, but I think it also had caviar in it.
Ooh. I mean,
that's what
I'd try it, but that's a bit much for me to
It was crazy over the top. If you love those things, I bet you were just, going nuts. New Mexico, jamming hot dogs and more. Locals, they say, love the Sonoran dog. It's topped with beans, spicy mayo, and then wrapped in bacon. That's pretty straightforward and sounds good. New York, Holly Dog. They say this is Midtown Manhattan and also, Middletown. Middletown in the Hudson Valley. And they say try the Chilean with avocado, tomato, sweet chili cream sauce. And they say for an added bonus, when you walk out of there, head next door to Equilibrium Brewery.
Ooh, to lose your equilibrium if you have too much.
Which is a great name. It's Equilibrium. Oddly, when you visit us, you will lose it. I'm opening No Balance Brewery next. Stumble Brewery. Fall to the Ground Brewery.
Dive right in.
Vomit on your shoes. We're still test marketing the names. We'll see which one works out best.
We'll dial it back one notch.
Chili Man in North Carolina. They say they have a chili dog called the Life Changer. It's a spicy concoction with japalinos and onions. And they say it is fantastic. Now, I'm looking at the picture. The dog itself looks more like a brat or something. But regardless, they top it with some sort of a spicy, it looks like a cross between a chili. It's got to be closer to a chili. Let's say it's a chili. Mm-hmm. And then they put japalinos on it. I know it's jalapenos. I'm just goofing. Onions, sour cream, and looks like a Fritos type thing.
Ooh.
I believe the Fritos are almost overkill on it.
Yeah, I'm not sure you need them in there with all those other flavors.
No.
I mean, sometimes more is just more.
Right. And I mean, it's a novelty. Then you see the Fritos on top. But I don't need them with the texture on that. And that's really all they're going to add. I guess a little corn flavor, but I'd rather they just sprinkle some corn. North Dakota, Dog Mala Doghouse. Anyways, the doghouse in North Dakota. Said if you truly love the munchies or have the munchies, you're definitely going to want to head here. They have Chester Fester, which is topped with crunchy Cheetos. And it looks like a dog. It may have some sort of cheese and peppers on it, and they put Cheetos on it. Most of those I look at as goofy.
Yeah, it's just too much.
Old Betty's Red Hot. This is in Ohio. They said it's closest you can get to a Nathan's hot dog outside of New York. They have garlic fries on the side to die for. But the one that they suggest in the article I read from Travel and Leisure, hot dog, looks like it has bacon. It looks more like a BLT hot dog, which is pretty interesting. But if you're going to do that, the dog part gets lost. You could just remove the dog and have the BLT
and have a sandwich. A really damn good sandwich, probably just on a hot dog bun.
Yeah, exactly. That's in Ohio. Oklahoma has Diamond Dogs. I have seen this, and I want to say this is near the university in Oklahoma City. Maybe not. And they have a bunch of different stuff, but they have a mac and cheese dog. It's a hot dog with mac and cheese.
Well, I mean, I get it. When you're doing mac and cheese with hot dogs for the kids, they're just a play on that.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah,
You're right.
reverse.
That is smart. Yeah. Victory Dogs in Oregon. 3-pound meat monster, 2 hot dogs, 1 German sausage, 1 Louisiana link, salami, pepperoni, pastrami, pulled pork, cappuccino, sausage, roast beef, ham, meatballs, 10 pieces of bacon, cheddar, Swiss, mozzarella, and 4 buns.
Okay, bring the whole family along.
Wow. I have gained weight just reading about that. Pennsylvania, cheese dog, spelled with a D-A-W-G-S. They say try the Reuben dog. It tops sauerkraut, Swiss, and chili crunch topped with chili and Fritos.
You know what? Reuben dog right there. A Reuben dog, an all-beef hot dog, right? The sauerkraut, the Swiss cheese, right?
Oh, that could go well.
A little bit of the Russian dressing on there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, and maybe on a pretzel bun or something, or if you could get a what do you call it? A rye. A hot dog bun?
Oh, rye bun. You're right. Yeah. Rhode Island has a place called the Mission, and they say they have a bunch of classic dogs, but they also have one that they suggest you have, and that's coleslaw and chili, like I like. Gray's Dogs. This is in South Carolina. It's a Fenway, Gary's Dog, and they also have one called Fenway Grill and Ice Cream. They say on top of a small array of classic like mustard, ketchup, sour cream, they also have a deep fried pretzel for dessert.
Deep fried pretzel sounds interesting.
Mm-hmm. South Dakota has Murdo Drive-In, and they say they have rhubarb shakes.
I like rhubarb. I would try that.
Yeah, because there's going to be enough sweetness to it. The problem with rhubarb is usually
a ton of sugar.
Right, exactly. And ice cream has a ton of sugar in it. Tennessee, D&B's Hot Dogs and Ice Cream. They have some crazy, interesting hot dogs. I just see a whole array of them laid out. Very unique. That looks good. Texas has Yo-Yo's Hot Dogs, a little Asian fusion thing going on there. Utah, J-Dogs. It's in, they say a lot of traditional stuff, but then some creative ones. I'm not seeing anything that looks maybe like a bacon-wrapped one. But it looks like they cut the hot dogs, they skewer them, so they come out with certain marks. Like
that would make sense. So, yeah. So when you,
little diamond patterns in them, so when they puff up.
Yeah, so they like cut
textured.
those patterns into the side of it so it actually expands. And very cool.
Vermont has Cold Hollow Cider Mill. It's a place they say grab some fresh maple syrup while you're there and put it on your dog, because it looks like they have...
Oh, that's just wrong, dude. I love maple syrup, but not on your hot dog.
This looks like a peanut butter and jelly one, too, and I'm just moving on from that. That's not good. Virginia has Ray's Hot Dogs. They say they have the Coney, and it looks like they have a real spicy chili as well. State of Washington has AC Tavern. And then finally, Wyoming. They say get your hillbilly hot dog, or West Virginia, get your hillbilly hot dog. And then Wisconsin, Dr. Dogs. And then finally, Wyoming, the Chili Grill. Best hot dogs by state.
This is the only 24-hour take-anywhere platform dedicated to food and fun. We're Spoony.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Attorney General nominee William Barr has assured members of the Senate Judiciary Committee that if confirmed, he will not interfere in the ongoing Mueller investigation.
Barr calling it vitally important.
I believe it is in the best interest of everyone, the President, Congress, and the American people, that this matter be resolved by allowing the special counsel to complete his work.
And he insisted he's under no political pressure from the White House.
President Trump has sought no assurances, promises, or commitments from me of any kind, either express or implied, and I have not given him any, other than that I would run the department with professionalism and integrity.
This is the first of 2 days of confirmation hearings before the Senate Judiciary Committee.
As Capitol Hill correspondent Wally Hines reporting, British lawmakers are considering a handful of proposed amendments to Prime Minister Theresa May's Brexit deal before they vote on the agreement itself. Even as the lawmakers debate, this man on the street, blacksmith Stephen Cooper, says Britain can withstand the Brexit one way or the other.
If we get a no deal, we're going to get a bloody nose. There's no two ways about that. But if I know one thing about the people of this country, they will pick themselves up, they'll brush themselves off, and they'll get on with it.
Voters in 2016 approved a referendum calling for the Brexit, Britain's departure from the European Union, even though the move is opposed by many. Volkswagen and Ford say they are forming a global alliance.
Our two companies have signed a memorandum of understanding to investigate collaboration on electric vehicles, autonomous vehicles, mobility service, and in some ways, combinations of all three of those.
That's Ford CEO Jim Hackett. The agreement will also find the two companies working together to develop commercial vans and medium-sized pickup trucks. On Wall Street right now, the Dow is up 135 points, the NASDAQ up 114. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Dating today with all the crazies out there has to be nuts.
Yes, it really would. Wouldn't it be nice if there was a place you could go to find people who think like you do?
Like me, like libertarians and conservatives?
Right?
There is. WeThePeople.dating.
Amazing. What a genius idea. This is a site that you can go to if you're single and you are looking for somebody who you know you're going to think the same way, as for from a political freedom standpoint. If you want to date the right person for you, you'll find them in one place. WeThePeople.dating.
Never Forgotten Apparel is more than just a premium women's and men's clothing line. It's a movement to remind us to wear American made and serve those who serve us, our heroes. Never Forgotten Apparel gives 20% of their total sales to nonprofits that support homeless veterans and off-duty firefighters, and 50% to individual veterans and firefighters in need nationwide. Check out neverforgottenapparel.com, use promo code DUCK, and get 15% off your purchase. That's neverforgottenapparel.com.
All things food service, recipes, and restaurants. Spoony.
Hey folks, this is Chef Patrick Mosher, better known as the Food Biz Pro, here on Spoony Radio. We have shows regarding food, food culture, the restaurant business, consulting services for businesses, startups of all sorts, not just the restaurant industry. We talk about travel, food destinations. It's a lot of food, fun, and family. Mike from the World Food Championships will be coming on, giving us a weekly update on Saturday afternoons on what's new in the world of food sport. Yes, folks, I said food sport. No, it's not where competitors walk into Kitchen Stadium and beat each other to death with a limp fish. It's where you have 2,000 events which lead to the World Food Championships. Join us for the World Food Championship updates every week. Join us on Spoony on the Dash Radio Network, 24/7 Food Talk Radio.
We're not solving all the world's problems, but we're bringing people to the table. Spoony, food and fun.
Good afternoon, Spoony listeners. Chef Patrick here. This is the Food Biz Pro show. Is it Tuesday already? It feels like Monday again, doesn't it? Monday all over again. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. And if you don't know where to find us, you're listening, obviously, but tell all your friends we are now on iHeartRadio. You can find us at Spoony Radio on iHeart, on Facebook Live every day. Oh, not to mention Spoony.com. Yeah, that's probably where we can find us. If you want to listen to the podcast, you can go to Spoony.com or to Spreaker. And check out the podcast every day. Doc and I are up every day. And coming soon, in the next couple of weeks, we will have all of the shows up every day for podcast. And look forward to getting those up there for everyone's enjoyment. Anyway, so Doc was touching on a couple things on his House of Flapjacks show just a few minutes ago. And he was talking about sandwiches. And I love a great sandwich. Someone had talked about a Reuben dog. Reuben being one of my favorite sandwiches. I started thinking, man, what are some of the best sandwiches I've ever had? So I was thinking, there's this great place in San Francisco. It's not really a place, it's a truck. And the truck isn't always there. It's a mobile food truck. And the truck is called Rolli Roti. That's I think it's R-O-L-I-R-O-T-I. It might be two L's. R-O-L-L-I-R-O-T-I. It stands for Rolling Rotisserie. So this Rolling Rotisserie, on the weekends, it's down at the Embarcadero where the old, I guess it was where immigration was. I'm not sure, but it's the old docks in San Francisco. So you go down there and they have a huge farmer's market on Saturdays and Sundays. And this thing is so cool. It's got, it's kind of like a box truck. It looks like a bigger version of a Schwann's frozen dinner delivery truck. One side opens up and it's about probably 8 feet tall. And on that side, it has these heating elements. They're electric, not flame, because I think that would be too dangerous to carry that much fuel around with you. But it's got this electric heat source, and there are 5 or 6 skewers. I think it can hold up to 8 skewers. And on each of these skewers that are like 8 feet long, each one of them has a different item. So there's whole duck. There are chickens. There's a center cut, like a pork roll. So what they do is they cut from like the front of the rear haunch and up to the shoulder of a suckling pig, or kind of a 50, 60 pound pig. They take that and they cut the front and back off, basically. So you have this belly, like the belly from just the belly, right, end to end. And then they open that up and they take the bones out. But when they take the bones out, and when they debone it, they actually leave the rib meat in. And it's brilliant. Then they don't do anything to it. There's no salt or pepper. It's just some herbs. They put that in there and they roll it up really tight around the skewer. And then they do that rotisserie style. So what's cool about this is in the very bottom of all this are these potatoes. And these potatoes are sitting there roasting and being cooked in the fat that drips down from level to level to level. So if you have the pork on top or duck on top, then you have the pork, and then they also do tenderloins, and then you have the chicken, and as they start to cook more, they move the cooked potatoes to the left and they start adding new ones to the right. And these are just, big like Kennebec potatoes, or they might be Yukon Gold potatoes cut in half. And as they cook, then they pull them off and they serve them. But here's the thing. I had one of their duck sandwiches one time. This is about 10 years ago, and we had been to the Fancy Food Show in San Francisco. It's brilliant. They take the duck out and they slice the duck off and they put it on this great brioche roll, and it's really light and airy. And then they don't do anything else except two things. But there's no sauce and there's no salt and pepper or anything. They take the top of the so they put some pepper cress on there. It's kind of like watercress, but a little bit more little spicier, a little zestier. So then they take the top of the bread and they soak up all that juice that's on the cutting board from cutting up the duck, and they put that on. And it's unbelievable. And I know they have several trucks now. I don't know how many they have in exactly, but they're doing a brilliant business out there. It's unbelievable. The flavor, the care that they put into everything they do, the quality of the foods are unbelievable. It's called Roti. I'm actually going to put a link up here in a little bit on Spoony at Spoony Radio's Facebook page. But then I was thinking of another place that I used to love to go to in Denver, and it's called Pete's Kitchen. Now, Pete's Kitchen, it's been around forever. It's I don't know. It's at least 25 since 1997, 95. So yeah, it's at least. I mean, I was probably 20 years old when I went there when I was in culinary school 20 some odd years ago. So Pete's Kitchen is a 24-hour kind of diner. And one of the wonderful things they do is this Euro breakfast sandwich. And this Euro sandwich is unbelievable. I love gyros to begin with. If the meat is really good and they cook it long enough, it gets a little crispy on the outside, and then they serve it in a fresh, warm pita with the tzatziki sauce, it's delicious. And so that, though, think about this. Think of that as breakfast, right? You could put it in an omelet or you could do something like that. What they do is they have these short order cooks that are just, these guys are just unbelievable. They are so good. They take like a sheet of eggs. They take these eggs that they scramble up in a bowl, fresh eggs, and then they spread them out on the griddle, and they make this flat layer of scrambled eggs. They take those scrambled eggs and they put that in the Euro breakfast sandwich with the Euro meat and the tzatziki sauce. And if you don't know what tzatziki sauce, it's basically like a yogurt sauce with some cucumber in it. Kind of, it's minced up, but it has some other seasoning in there as well. But it is unbelievable. I mean, at 2:00 in the morning in Denver, in the middle of winter on a Saturday night, there are people lined up around the block, literally. I mean, it's 2 degrees outside, and there are people waiting to get in. And they don't mess around when they're in there. They only have 2 cooks, I think at night, and probably during the day, only 2 cooks. These guys are just unbelievably hardworking line cooks, and I'm sure they were making $20-something an hour back in the 90s when I was there. So these 2 guys just crank it out. And what happens, though, that it's so full, every seat's taken, and so many people waiting to get in, that they don't let you sit. Once you're done, you're gone. They bring the check and say, okay, next, time to go. And they just turn them. We call it turn in and burn them, right? Turn them and burn them. Get the tables turned, get the next group in. But man, Pete's Kitchen. If you get up to Denver, go to Pete's Kitchen on Colfax. It's one of my favorite joints to go to. And if you're in San Francisco, check out Roti. Just fantastic food. Then we talked about that hot dog, that Reuben dog. I'm going to have to try this. Now, I think you could just use bread for this instead of having to make a rye-flavored like hot dog bun. But if you took a rye-flavored hot dog bun or a rye bun or, just, again, toasted marbled rye, but you take the hot dog, you take the Swiss cheese, right? Well, you actually put the sauerkraut on there first, then the Swiss cheese, and then put that under the broiler for a minute, and then put that Russian-style dressing. Basically, it's like Thousand Island. Put that on there. That would be unbelievable. I think that would be one of my favorite hot dogs to have at any time. So, all that aside, we've talked a little bit about sandwiches. The last couple of days, we were talking about food trends, right? Again, I found some alternative lists and a whole bunch of alternative lists. Typically, I'll look at 2. One is Whole Foods, because Whole Foods, they put a lot of work and research into how they look at food trends. I'm not sure how it is now, but they were really insightful for many years. I think now it's kind of hit and miss, like most places are. Nobody really knows what's going to happen because so much happens so fast now. But I looked at that, and there's another one I came up with. And apparently, think about Instagram. So Instagram is one of the huge influencers in food trends and decisions in modern day. And so when you think about that, how many people look at or not Instagram, but Pinterest? How many people look at recipe photos, just photos of food every day on Pinterest? How many? I can't even imagine. I mean, millions and millions of people. So in doing that, if you're an Instagram star or a Pinterest star with your food, you're an influencer. And so I think that has a large influence over the market in general, because people are so visually, how do we call it, engaged in the food that we eat now. I mean, how often do you go out and take a picture and post the picture of your food? How often does that happen? I mean, I've done it. I do it quite often. I mean, I wouldn't say I do it daily or weekly, but that's a pretty common thing for me to do. Now, if you go to the Spoony Instagram page, Spoony Radio, there's probably not much on there. I don't think I've posted anything on there, so I'm working on that. I've got a backlog of photos I need to put up there. But that aside, think about all the things that became really famous from that. All the stuff that are like unicorn flavor, the unicorn colors, oh my gosh, what we call the herpes of the craft world, glitter. Edible glitter or not, glitter on food is just ridiculous, right? But think about all those things that we put that we see on Instagram, which now become a popular or a culturally trending item. There are so many of them, and so let's think about that. Glitter, rainbow colored. Unicorn flavored. I don't know what the unicorn and the rainbow have to do with each other, because when I was a kid, the unicorns were white in most of the pictures, or they could have been black. I don't know, but there was no rainbow colored unicorns. So I don't know what that has to do with anything. But think about that. How many people have been influenced just by looking at the photos on Pinterest? So in Japan, there's this competition, right, among the chefs to create items that they can do a very short video clip of. These are very famous chefs or very up-and-coming chefs that want to stand out against all the other chefs in such a tiny country. When I say such a tiny country, it's not really physically so small. I mean, it is, but the population is so dense. It's hard to fathom. When I say dense, we're talking about half of the population of the United States. So everybody pretty much west of the Mississippi shoved into California, Oregon, and half of Washington. So some of the things they've done on Pinterest, they developed these dishes, and a few of the dishes they have are like there's this one that's a chocolate sphere with a dessert inside, and then they serve this hot chocolate sauce next to it, and you pour that over the top of this sphere, and it disappears to reveal the dessert. So they have a lot of things like that where something on top disappears to reveal the dish underneath. There's one with cotton candy on one of the dishes, and then you pour the sauce over that, and then the cotton candy melts away and it reveals what's underneath. So, I mean, it's such a competition that there are pages devoted just to this. So thinking of that, Pinterest being such a huge influencer, I thought, what about Pinterest? What kind of trends are they predicting for 2019? And so there's it's like 100 items, I think, is what I came up with. So the first one is, let's see. All right. Here we go. We're going to look for mushrooms, right? Mushrooms. Now, I don't think this is just a Pinterest thing, but it's trending. It's very high on Pinterest search ratings. So searches for mushroom recipes are like 64%, right? So some things about mushrooms, and they're trending now because of the micronutrients found in mushrooms that can't be found in any other plant-based product or any other meat for that reason. Most of them, not all of them, are traces of minerals and other rare or micronutrients that are only found in mushrooms. So chefs have been using them for a long time to do things like cut down the amount of meat in a hamburger, right? You thin it out with mushroom, things like that. So that's trending. And some of the reasons are they are very low carb. They're very healthful. And because vegetarianism and veganism is growing. And so it's a lot of times it's used as a meat substitute. So you can actually take a portobello mushroom and you can marinate it and grill it and use it as a hamburger. And that's been done for a long time. But they're doing some very unique things with them on Pinterest. So that's the first one. The second one isn't really unique, but I think that the like these Asian flavors is what they're talking about. Inspired Asian infusions is the next generation of that, or the next iteration of that. And by that, I'm talking about like you see this all the time, like ginger and lemon water, right? And people are using turmeric and ginger and other citrus fruits to flavor water. Now, 10 years ago, there was really nothing besides even bottled water. It was just plain old water. And so now what you're seeing is this, everything from, smart water to these these infused flavored drinks like Bai and things like that. But really simple flavored waters with, ginger, lemon, one of my favorites. And this is actually a really good thing. If you're in a climate where you can grow lemongrass, right? I love the aroma and the flavor of lemongrass. But one thing that happens is you can only use the bottom of the stalk. So out of this giant grass-like reed, like big grassy bush that grows, you can only use the bottom of it. So maybe the last 4 inches of the stalk, and most of that, like half of that, you have to trim off because it's too fibrous to put into a dish. You can't chop it up small enough. So one of the things we used to do in Denver, I worked at a place called Hi Ricky Asian Cafe, and we would take the lemongrass. We take the tops of the lemongrass and we would blend them up, mix them in a food processor. And we'd chop them up first, kind of roughly, put them in there, pack them in there, and then chop them up. And we take that and we would pour very cold water, warm water over it and steep it like tea through not a china cap, it's a chinois. Chinois is like a cone-shaped strainer with a big handle on it, but it's a very fine mesh strainer. So after you do that and you get it, you steep this really strong tea, then you add cold water to it to cool it down so it doesn't it doesn't ferment. It kind of turns into, it'll get kind of rancid almost. It ages very quickly and it starts to lose color. But what it makes is this brilliant, like emerald green, beautiful tea. Now that tea, you add a little bit of simple syrup to it and it's brilliant. I mean, it's one of my favorite teas ever. So if you actually can grow lemongrass, then it's fantastic. It's one of my favorite things. And now you can use like 60 to 80% of the plant instead of just using this bottom, 2 or 3 or 4 inches of the root part. Now I spoke to my friend. I was talking about my friend Greg Patterson last week, I guess, and how I was out in his garden doing. I was showing him how to use his greens. Well, he had lemongrass growing. He didn't know what to do with it, so we went and we put that lemongrass. We chopped it up and actually put it in the greens that we cooked. But then I told him how to make this tea. And it's one of my all-time favorites. If you have a chance to acquire those from someone who grows them, or if you can find a producer of lemongrass in your area, ask them if you can buy the tops, especially in summertime. They have a really bright, slightly lemony aroma and flavor, and the tea is awesome. So, all right. So next, these Asian infused waters and flavors. The next ones are... All right. So, what else was there? One of the other ones is, all right. There we go. Grazing tables. Now, if you don't know what a grazing table is, think of how do you say this? It's kind of like when a caterer puts up a giant buffet table. Okay. It doesn't have to be for a catered event, though. But a grazing table has all of these different items kind of arranged in a manner that's not just one dish here, one dish next to it, one dish next to that. There are different levels. It could be all one flat, big board with a variety of items in a colorful pattern. You might have a variety of roasted carrots, heirloom carrots. You get orange, yellow, and other colors. But they're they're arranged, say, in a circular pattern that looks like it could look like sunflower. It could just be a circular pattern, or it could be a snake that goes through the middle of the board with, other roasted vegetables on either side. But these grazing tables are becoming a big trend. And if you're doing a party or hosting a big party at your house, it's actually a very elegant way to display things. So that's another one. What were some of the other ones in here? Oh, there's a stuff called, I think it's pronounced, I need to look this up, Celtus. It's Celtuce. And I'm not sure why, but for some reason, this is getting a lot of traction. It's been around for a while. I think I saw it first about 10 years ago. But Celtus, it looks like it's about as big around as an asparagus root. And it has a little bit, it is a lettuce, and it has a little bit of leafiness at the top. But it's really, really hardy. It's used as a vegetable, not as a lettuce, but it's actually a lettuce. And I don't know if it has to do, I'm looking at the nutritional facts on here. There's some potassium, very little carbohydrates, very little fiber, there's very little protein, has a little bit of about 5% of your vitamin A per day. But, I think it's just something new, and the texture is a bit, I don't know how you describe it. Like if you take the base of broccoli, when you get a big head of broccoli and everybody throws the bottom part away because it's really fibrous. Instead, peel that. Okay, cut off the very bottom because it's usually dry, but peel the longer part of the stem and steam that with the other pieces of broccoli, and it has this kind of a more dense, very good texture to it. It's just delicious, and I think that's kind of the texture of Celtus. I've had it once or twice, and that's what I recall. All right, so above and beyond that, we have, let's see. Oh, the newest one on the alternative milks is oat milk. Oat milk you can't really find anywhere. We've talked about this before. A couple of years ago, I guess over the last 5 or 6 years, these nut-based milks have become very popular. And actually, cashew milk has been around for a long time. I remember I worked for a restaurant in San Diego. I was the chef and general manager. It was called the Vegetarian Zone because we had these protein supplemental side dishes that went with every meal. And it was based on Dr. Sears' Zone diet. Well, we made a cashew cornbread. And we actually made cashew milk. We would soak the cashews and puree them, blend them up in water, and then strain that. And that was the base. That became the liquid for making cornbread instead of milk or water. And it was delicious. It added such a richness to the dish. It was really unbelievable. So, but now we're getting all these other grain-based alternative milks, and one of them is oat milk. Oat milk is becoming very popular, but there's not very much on the market, and I'm going to assume making it home is not as it probably doesn't yield as much as you think it might. I'm going to have to try it and see, but that's another big one. So recipes, baked breads and things, baking recipes. So recipes that are kneaded, like KNEAD. I don't think that's anything new, but apparently the searches on Pinterest this last year are up 413% for baking bread over last year. Now, one of my favorite breads is sourdough, and Doc and I have talked about this on the air before. My favorite sourdough bread, I used to practice making these breads. Nancy Silverton is a phenomenal baker out of California, and she had a place on La Brea called the La Brea Bakery. And in Los Angeles, and the La Brea Bakery was really a trendsetter for a long time. It's closed now, but you can buy her bread in almost every grocery store under the La Brea brand, and a lot of it's like take home, heat and serve. But anyway, they before that part started, she put out this cookbook, and her take on sourdough was brilliant because she doesn't add any yeast. The sourdough starter is a very slow process for her. What she do is she take grapes were the source of sugar to feed the yeast, and the only yeast in the starter was the natural yeast on the outside of the grapes. So depending on what variety of grapes, where they came from, the yeast may be different, and so it gave a unique flavor depending on where you got your grapes and how long it took and how sugary the grapes were, because that would determine how long it took for the starter to start to ferment. And then you had to feed it and grow it and feed it and grow, and then you could take half the starter out and make bread. But I'll tell you, if you can find that cookbook, I'll bring a copy in and I'll put some of those recipes up. I think it's just the La Brea cookbook. I'll look it up. But Nancy Silverton is a phenomenal baker. And I could see why bread is coming back. Look, we like to cook more things at home. And man, bread is just good anyway. I love the smell of baking bread. All right, going pegan. Pegan, I said, not vegan, not vegetarian, not paleo, but pegan. And pegan is part paleo and part vegan. And apparently this diet's really taken the country by storm. Searches for eating pegan are up 337% over last year. 337%. I mean, that's threefold. And we're only 1 month into the year. That's crazy. Anyway, so we're just a few seconds from the break here. If you do, or even if you don't like wild rice, check out SpoonyWildRice.com. It's Minnestalgia's wonderful treats from the northern Midwest. They have wild rice-based soup mixes. They have honeys, jams. You got to try their ghost chili, the ghost pepper jam. It's the best jam I've ever had. Anyway, that's SpoonyWildRice.com. SpoonyWildRice.com. Check them out. Our show is brought to you by them today. Oh, break time. We'll be right back.
Dating today with all the crazies out there has to be nuts.
Yes, it really would. Wouldn't it be nice if there was a place you could go to find people who think like you do?
Like me, like libertarians and conservatives?
Right?
There is. WeThePeople.dating.
Amazing. What a genius idea. This is a site that you can go to if you're single and you are looking for somebody who you're going to think the same way, as for from a political freedom standpoint. If you want to date the right person for you, you'll find them in one place. WeThePeople.dating.
Take the pain out of ordering your diabetic testing supplies with Diathrive. Diathrive ships the testing supplies you need directly to you when you need them. Best of all, with plans starting as low as $8 a month, Diathrive is probably going to cost you less than what you're paying today. Diathrive is so convinced that you'll love their service, they're offering your first month of supplies free. Simply type the code DOC, D-O-C, at checkout. Diathrive.com. That's D-I-A, thrive.com.
It looks like you're losing.
I am.
Are you losing weight?
I am losing. I've lost about 10 pounds.
How are you doing it?
Funny name, but I've done it with Riduzone. RADUzone.com, and the stuff works. It's, you get into all that, the molecule this and the found in that. All I can tell you is it makes you feel full, and it keeps your mind off of wanting to overeat.
And also boosts your metabolism, so you're burning more.
Yeah,
Try it today. It's going to work for you like it's worked for Brad and countless other people. Riduzone.com. RIDUzone.com.
Never Forgotten Apparel is more than just a premium women's and men's clothing line. It's a movement to remind us to wear American-made and serve those who serve us. Our heroes. Never Forgotten Apparel gives 20% of their total sales to nonprofits that support homeless veterans and off-duty firefighters, and 50% to individual veterans and firefighters in need nationwide. Check out neverforgottenapparel.com. Use promo code MATT, M-A-T-T, and get 15% off your purchase.
Follow Chef Patrick Mosher on Twitter at Food Biz Pro.
All right, folks. So I'm going to discuss my my occasional less than love affair with social media here for a second. If I seemed a little distracted the last half hour, I put out a social media post this morning wishing a family member a happy birthday, but I didn't have my glasses on when I typed it this morning, and happy turned into something else that was a little awkward, I must say. And anyway. Happy birthday, Shauna Mosher, my niece. I love you. Hope you didn't take that personal. Anyway, so this one of the things in this day and age is, if you've ever seen the movie Chef, okay, it's one of my all-time favorite cooking movies, or movies based on cooking. All right, no need to read anything for them. Take the glasses off. So, Chef is a story about a once bright and brilliant and avant-garde chef who was making a name in L.A. and worked for a very famous restaurant. Anyway, he cut his chops. He made a name. He made a statement, but had been doing the same food, this really safe menu he'd been doing for 4, 5, 6 years. A lot of that based on the request of the owner. And so he decides that he's going to do a new menu. There's a critic coming in, and he is going to do this special menu just for the critic because the critic said some, kind of cruel things on Twitter. Now, I'll be honest with you, as a chef, until I met Doc a few years ago, and I was about to do my first live television show for an hour, I really hadn't done any social media. Not very much. I did a little Facebook, but I'd never done Twitter before. I mean, I looked at Twitter and I had an account. I had it for 4 years before that. I never used it. So this chef, when this critic says something, he thinks it's kind of like it's a public statement about his how he's playing it safe and so on and so forth. He sends this tweet back to the critic, and the way he types it, though, it's not a private message to him, right? It's not a DM. It's a public message, basically challenging him to come in, and that he'll show him, it's an indiscreet message, right? So he's created this new menu for him, and he's worked hard to do it. He spends a whole night getting the tasting menu together. He goes in the next day to make it. The critics can come in, and he had sent this tweet. Well, that tweet went viral, right? He's got now overnight 1,200 or 1,500 or 2,000 followers and climbing. And so he basically challenged him in public to come in and dine. And the rest of the story goes on. It's a great movie. Just watch it. It's a fantastic. John Leguizamo is one of my favorite actors. He's one of the main characters in the movie. But social media today can put you in some precarious situations. I've seen people claim chefs, well-regarded chefs, people that I know that are chefs, people that I'm friends with on a different social media platform than Twitter or Facebook. This one was Pinterest. Was on what do you call it? Anyway, so LinkedIn. So it's on LinkedIn. It's one of the chefs I follow on there, and he puts up these gorgeous food pictures every day. So, I start looking, though, and I'm thinking about the type of food he does, and I wasn't trying to scrutinize this. But I noticed that I'd seen one of the photos before, recently, the exact photo, because I scour through food photos to get plating ideas and things like that, and I'll be honest, in the food realm, I am not the most original chef ever. I can come up with original dishes, but they're typically they're an amalgam of all these other things I've seen, or I see somebody else's dish that I think is fantastic, and I think, oh, this could be just a slight improvement of that in presentation or flavor or, maybe some sort of other addition or subtraction to the dish. All right, so I'm looking at this photo. I'm like, man, that looks really, 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 really familiar. I let it go. I didn't say anything. I didn't publicly call him out. I didn't send him a private message. I let it go. Then a few days later, I noticed that he's got a few more pictures on there, and that the ingredients are mislabeled. Now, granted, I've mislabeled things before as well. I've done it on a menu. I've done it on posts. I've done it when I send a text with a photograph, but it's rare. And when I do, I immediately find I see it and I correct it, right? Because I read through everything I send more than once, except this morning without my glasses. And again, Shauna Mosher, I love you. Happy birthday. So this, I'm looking at these posts, and he misidentifies a couple of ingredients, and one of them is a Japanese ingredient. So I know he's got it incorrect. Yes, I am that good at Japanese ingredients. I just know Japanese food inside now. If you want to test me, send me a text. Okay, put something on social media. All right, send it to Spoony and send me a picture. Say, what is this? Okay, don't make something up and don't steal something from another culture that I don't know. If it's a Japanese ingredient, I know it. Most, not all. So I see these pictures and I'm like, okay, he's misidentifying ingredients. I start putting two and two together, and then on one of the other, he misidentified a fish. Okay. And I start putting these together. So I start scrolling through the internet for photos of these plates he's put up, right? And I just call out the center of the plate item. So the protein in the middle of the plate, or whatever the highlighted item in the middle of that plate is, that's called the center of the plate item. And so I start looking through and I notice, well, that's one of the pictures you put up. That's one of the pictures, and that's the other one that I thought was maybe a little bogus before. So now I know that he's using other people's photos and he's claiming that they're his. So what do you do at that point? So my sense of integrity and my gut say, okay, send him a private message. The first thing you want to do is, hey, call him out publicly, right? Because I'm just that guy. I was that guy in the kitchen. I was the guy that when you screwed up, I was. I'm not anymore. I was very kind of an impetuous, impatient person when I was young and running kitchens and trying to be a badass, right? So I would call people out, and it's very embarrassing, right? And one of the things that I think as a good employer that you never do is you never embarrass your employees in front of anyone else, ever, no matter what. Unless it's an act of violence or something and you need to get them out of the restaurant, you drag them out because you have to. So I didn't, of course I opted against that, right? Because I can actually think through that process now. So then I'm like, okay, do I send them a private message? And I see these other well-respected chefs, right? I see these other well-respected chefs, and they're saying, oh, great job, chef. How creative, inventive, beautiful, great dish. And I'm thinking, I don't even know if it would affect him or faze him. And he's eventually going to be found out. So I let it lie. I didn't say anything, but I don't look at if I see he's posted on LinkedIn, I don't even look anymore. I just scroll right through. Transparency, right? Authenticity, truth in advertising, ethical conduct of business, right? Those are big things. Those are big statements. Those are big responsibilities for people in any business. But when you're talking about putting something in someone's body, something they eat, they consume, that actually physically becomes a part of their being, right? Then truth in menu, truth in advertising has to be absolute. There's no faking it. There's no lying about it. People die because of that stuff. Now, his pictures aren't going to kill anyone, right? They're not. But what does that tell you about the integrity of that person's conduct? I mean, just in general, how could you continue to conduct business with someone who blatantly and openly lies about the food that they say that they're making, right? Now, I'll admit this, in doing business presentations, because I did not have the restaurant, I would on occasion use other people's photos as an example of the style of food that we were going to present in the restaurant, if I did not have that particular style of dish. A lot of them, or most of them, were mine, or the other chefs I was working with that we were trying to raise funds for whatever. We would use their food shots, but once in a while we'd take another one, but we'd give credit. One of my favorite chefs and mentors, Nobu Matsuhisa, I would use his food often and just say, that's Nobu's food. That's the style of food I do. And now you know what it looks like. If I didn't have a picture of that particular dish. But to do this on a social media platform, not just like Facebook, right? Facebook's it's Facebook. It is what it is. And actually, Facebook is very important. Continue watching at Spoony Radio's Facebook page live every day, 1 to 3 Central, 2 to 4 East Coast. Doc and I live every day, Monday through Friday. But LinkedIn is a professionals networking, social media page. So I'm thinking I have a real struggle with this. And now that I'm thinking about it again, do I email him? Do I send him a private message and say, hey, dude, man, I've seen some of your food. It's beautiful. Okay. But this stuff isn't yours. I know who did it. I know where the photos came from. I've seen the credits. I know the photographer. Why would you do that? Right. I'm not sure. I'm going to debate that a little longer, but I throw that out there because this is a day and 20 years ago, deception was a lot easier. Putting something on a menu that wasn't true, maybe falsifying the origin of an ingredient, right? Things like that. But now, with the internet as big as it is, with social media as popular as it is, and so pervasive into every corner of our lives, you can't get away with it for very long. You really can't. So, all that being said, what do you do? Do you let them hang themselves? Or do you shorten the rope and tell them, or do you shorten the fall and tell them ahead of time, hey, dude, don't do this, right? Because what happens then this chef is not a restaurant chef per se. There's a food service aspect. Well, actually, kind of is. He works for several organizations, and one of them feeds a lot of people. It's beautiful, right? But again, those are statements on social media, and I don't see him in any of the production photos plating that stuff, putting it in the boxes, and delivering it to homeless people. So I'm not even sure that's true. But that aside, you can't get away with it now. You have to be true. You have to be honest. And so this goes into, I'm just going to talk food in specific, right? they did a test a couple years ago. I'm going to get off this whole list thing. All right, I'm just not into it today. So let's talk about something that pisses me off. You often go to a restaurant and they'll say snapper, right? They'll say you go to a less expensive Japanese restaurant. I frequent Japanese restaurants often, and I go to some that are not very fancy and not very expensive, and the food is not necessarily excellent, right? But it's value for the price point. And I often walk in and I see snapper, firm white-fleshed fish, red stripes. Okay, well, it's not snapper. It's Chinese raised tilapia. And how do I know that? Well, I was a sushi chef for a very long time, and I still make sushi. I do a lot of private catering, things like that. And I happen to work for a tilapia farmer. My former business partner, Barry Furseth of Blue Fresh Fish Marketplace in Bentonville. He and I went from basically the border of Mexico all the way to Chile looking for products to import to the United States. And one of our premium clients was a tilapia and shrimp farmer, all natural stuff, out of Ecuador. So we probably saw 1 million pounds of fish harvested, processed, and shipped overseas, mostly to the United States, but other countries as well. And that was a very unique, very clean product. There were no chemicals added to the feed, but it doesn't matter. You can't call tilapia snapper. I don't care where you are, in what language, you can't. So a couple of years ago, I think it was last year or the year before, they did a test, and they basically sampled. They genetically tested all these fish at all these restaurants, and something like 60 to 80% came up false. They came up false. So the fish that you think you're eating wasn't really what you're eating. So then what were you eating? Right? You think you've had sea bass at this place like 6 times now. Oh my God, I love sea bass. Then you finally have it. You're like, this isn't sea bass. What is this? Or the other way around. I don't like sea bass. I had it at this place. I don't like it. Well, maybe it wasn't sea bass. Maybe you really like sea bass. Maybe they gave you cod. Or maybe they gave you, I don't know, snapper. Or maybe they gave you tilapia. You know, I'm going to call out all my friends in the food service industry. Start watching everybody else in the food service industry, the hospitality industry in general. And truth in advertising, truth in menu, it has to be a goal of ours, right? Absolute truth. You are feeding people. Okay? You're feeding people. So, look, saying that, it's the best I've ever had or something like as a server, that's one thing. But when you lie about the ingredients or you purposely deceive people, it's incredible. I can't believe people even would think about doing that, right? Anyway, we talked a little bit about one of the future trends that's coming up in food service. It's kind of it's becoming a part of a lot of industries, not just food service, and it's called blockchain technology. I have no dog in this hunt, and I'm not advocating for any particular company. I don't have any sponsors that pay me to say this, but blockchain technology is unique in that every line of code records an action, right? It records a process, a sale, a treatment, anything. So it doesn't matter if it's a grain of wheat, right? Or the bread that it was turned into, first it was harvested, so that's recorded, right? It tells when it's planted, tells when it's harvested, tells how often it was watered and fed, and then but all this is recorded, this data, and it makes everything very transparent. So when there's an outbreak, like I spoke about yesterday, you have an outbreak, then you can trace it back, and not only an outbreak, for quality control reasons. Other than that, you can just trace every product from seed or conception to sale of a finished product. And that's very useful. They had this, the E. coli outbreak with all the lettuces. And, it's amazing to me with this kind of technology that we're not putting this in play. Now, this works with fish as well. You could tag fish when it comes out of the water, and you could, label it what it's supposed to be. Each fish would have its tag. Now, granted, these big boats that are out in the deep seas, and they process on the boats, and they flash freeze it, and they box it, and they bring it, and it's ready to go to the grocery store. That's a little different. But if these are big boats that are out just day boats, or some that are out there 2 or 3 days, maybe just doing swordfish, or maybe they do tuna. They harvest tuna. Those boats could easily, you could tag every fish. It would be recorded, but that tag would stay with it every step of the way. So every transition, every step of the process, from taken out of the water to put on a plate, would be recorded, and that tag, that number, would be scanned, or you wouldn't have to do it before you serve it, but at the restaurant site, it would be recorded that you have received that product. And so they could trace it from if there were ever anything wrong, someone got sick, and it happened to be related to that, or they thought there was suspicion that it was, they could trace every step of the way backwards. So blockchain technology is going to start, it's going to start really to be more understood, because blockchain has nothing to do with cryptocurrencies. Right? People think cryptocurrency. And I'm only talking about this from a business perspective, because it's really important in food service that we have this transparency. Extremely important. And traceability. So it's a way of recording data that's very secure. It has nothing, although it was developed again for Bitcoin, it has nothing to do with Bitcoin. I don't advocate for cryptocurrencies. They're completely speculative in my mind, unless it's for a specific use. And when you trade your money in, it's $1 for one coin, or whatever that currency denomination happens to be. But anyway, I think it's really imperative. This is going to be a big game changer, right? One of the other things is this could be tagged to photos or images or anything else, anything in the world. So if this person were tagging these photos as his own, there's no way to, right? Because there would be this record, this transparent open record of that photo being created, who took the pphoto, who generated the image, and who posted it, where it was posted, and then when it was reposted to every other site around the world. I'm really kind of frustrated at that. I'm actually more frustrated myself by social media posts to my niece, Shauna Mosher. Happy birthday. It's going to be an interesting couple of years going forward. I really think blockchain technology is going to change the food service world. One of the things with that also is it can help us reduce waste. Look, I'm not telling everybody to try and save the world, but I am a really big advocate for less waste and just less consumption overall. Single-use plates, things like that. There's no reason for that really, unless it's absolutely necessary. But what this would help us to track. Man, I can't even. Like, there's so many applications for this. It's hard to even discern and separate them all out. I mean, everything in food service, from the like plastic forks, right? Plastic forks. Okay, I'm not advocating for them, but you could find out how many forks were made from this much petroleum. Where they were manufactured, where they were shipped to, and then who bought them. Now, you can trace that end to end, right? That's not hard. Now, as the end user, why would it matter? Well, you can look and see, wow, this is completely transparent. This restaurant last year used 70,000 forks. Wow, 70,000 forks. Maybe we need to talk to them about doing something different. Right. That's just one way. But also, I think a better application in the food service industry is that you can record the yield, right? The total yield of a crop, or of a harvest of any animal as well. So once you record that, then as that harvest is say it's asparagus, okay? You have 1,000 pounds of asparagus. It goes out to all these restaurants, and each restaurant gets a 5-pound case. All right. You could actually track the sales data from the point of sale system, and you could look at, okay, this restaurant sold this many orders, this many orders. So how much of that was not sold, went unsold, or was lost due to shrinkage, which is either theft or waste, or spoilage of some sort, or simple carelessness and people throwing things away. How much was lost, and how much was actually served, right? So now they could scale back production. They could produce less. We'd have a higher usage rate, because they wouldn't, they could buy in smaller sizes, pack sizes, things like that. I mean, it could be used for all sorts of modification, or to get a better understanding of what you need in your industry and what's actually sold and necessary to serve. One of the biggest things in restaurants. All right, back to restaurants here. Get on my high horse again. as a restaurant consultant, just as a chef in general, I've been in restaurants for 30 years now. One of the most underutilized tool, besides your staff, I don't think we empower our staff enough, nor do we train them well enough. But that aside, one of the things that you buy in almost every single restaurant is a point of sale system. And a point of sale system is basically a very simple computer. It has it can be programmed to be very complex in how it stores data or how you can break that data down and look at it. But it's just a storage space, right? So it's incredible. Most people use this to simply send an order to the kitchen or to the bar, and someone makes the order in the kitchen or the bar, and then they send it out from the kitchen or the bar and you consume it. And they never look at anything again. It's simply used to track orders and make food and drink. Now, you can do a couple of things with this. You can use the POS system to require employees to clock in. And you can set parameters, like they can't clock in more than 5 hours or 5 minutes before their shift starts. 5 hours, that would be bad. 5 minutes. Or they can't clock out more than 10 minutes after unless a manager goes over and approves it. So there's things like that. Now, digging in deeper, I think it's imperative. It's really important for anyone in any business. This is not just restaurants, to understand the numbers, the cost of doing business versus what you sold. It's the only way you ever make money. If you don't understand the numbers, then why be in business? And if you don't care to understand the numbers, or maybe you just don't care, maybe you make too much money in your business, then I guarantee you're leaving money on the table. And no one wants to leave money on the table, which if they give you your change back, if you got a $10 meal and you had a $100 bill in your hand, you paid for it and they brought back $90, would you just walk away from that? No, you shouldn't walk away from the pennies, nickels, and dimes either. Okay. So POS systems, there are many that I've used out there. My favorite used to be Aloha. The new micro systems are very good, but they're pricey. These are very expensive systems nowadays. But here's what you can do. At the end of the week, so daily in a restaurant, I look at sales every day. I look at what's called the P mix, the product mix or sales mix. What that tells me is how many plates of each dish, doesn't matter what the dish was, in each category was sold every meal period. So I can choose to look at today's lunch only, today's dinner only, a certain time period at lunch between, say, 11 and 1. I can look at the entire sales for the day. And what it does, it breaks down these food items by category, or it can just give me an overall list from A to Z of the lowest to highest or highest to lowest sellers, or in alphabetical order. But now what I can do is I can take that data over time and I can kind of extrapolate some things, right? I can make some projections. So I know that over the last 16 Mondays, I sold on average 8 filet mignons. But my guys, every day on the prep sheet, my kitchen manager is putting down for the kitchen to prep 20. And then on Tuesday, I notice I'm only selling 6. Slow night in our restaurant. Every week I sell 4 to 6. But I notice my prep guy saying, you need to cut 20 more. Then on Wednesday, we might sell 10 or 12, right? So we're depleting some of that. But my prep guy, once again, says, cut 20 more. So now by the time Friday rolls around, there's no prep to do, which is fine. I get that, right? That's the goal in his mind. But in my mind now, I have 4-day-old steaks I'm serving on a Friday night to a customer who's paying $35 to $50 for a filet, whatever it is, 26 to 25, 29. So you can use this data to dial in and really hone your skills as a manager, as an owner, and as as just a good steward, a steward of good business, right? Good business means understanding and not being wasteful. Right? You can be wasteful if you want to. I think it's a shame. It's a pity. And it's ridiculous. It's selfish being wasteful, especially when it comes to money and time. So the POS system is probably the most underutilized and most important tool in the modern day hospitality industry. So some other things you can do on that is you can look at long-term trending data, right? You can look at year over year, say over a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year period. Well, I guess it has to be 2 years if it's year over year. But say you decided to open up 5 years ago, you opened up the night on Christmas Eve because you thought there was a need for it in your community. Now you can look at the sales and see if they've increased every year, if they've decreased every year, have they leveled off? Did we ever do any business? And you can say, well, do we need to continue this, or is it really not making us any money? Or look, we ran out of stuff last year, right? We ran out of, it's the day before Christmas, we ran out of ham at 4:00 and we had 60 more reservations coming in. So it's a tool to, again, be able to forecast and be prepared to better serve the guest. And you spend less time worrying about what food needs to be ready to in each station in the kitchen, and more time focusing on presentation, serving the guest, and meeting the need, right? Exceeding the need, hopefully. So anyway, point of sale systems. Look, I can't advocate enough for those, but look, hold people accountable people to be accountable and honest in their business dealings, right? It's real important to me. It should be real important to you. I think I'm going to send an email today. How should I word it? How do you open that email? I mean, what's the opener for that? I could think of a few choice ones. I wouldn't use because I'm no longer, I'm not working in the kitchen right now, and I'm not under pressure, and I don't need to yell and scream at somebody, which I don't need to do anymore anyway. But yeah, I think I'm going to send it. I think I am. Anyway, we got about 8 new shows coming up in the next 6 weeks. We have local show host Trey Chapman's going to be coming on with Trey's Chowdown Live. He's also going to be doing a little bit of his Drinking with Trey, I think, along with that. He's going to be interviewing some great local and regional chefs here in the DFW area. He's in 5 states. Check him out. Trey's Chowdown. That's TREY''S, Trey's Chowdown. We have, oh my gosh, we had a lot of people coming on. Rob Carson, radio personality and former analyst on the radio, but he is a foodie. He is a big-time foodie. And I'm going to actually share a video. He did a demo video the other day, and he did a great job. He talked about the hottest food trends in 2018. That's Rob Carson. He's coming up. These are going to be some really great weekly shows that are coming up. A couple of them, like Trey will actually be in the studio filming or going live every Friday afternoon. I think we start on is it the 5th? It's the week of the 2nd. It's going to be February 2nd, Friday. He'll be on live at, I think, 11:30 East Coast time. So look for these live shows coming up. We got some more. There's some other podcasters coming on. We got Elisa Shakespeare's No Butts Too Big. She's going to be going daily in about 3 weeks as soon as she gets her studio finished and built out. And it's going to be a good year. Hey, also check out Gwen Rich is going to be on the news in Chicago. If you're in the Chicagoland area next Tuesday, I believe, check it out. Anyway, this is Chef Patrick Mosher, the Food Biz Pro. I hope I didn't, I was entertaining. I entertain myself. That's all that really matters. Anyway, talk to you tomorrow. Ciao for now.
This is the only 24-hour take-anywhere platform dedicated to food and fun. We're Spoony.